And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the stream. We got a bright light going right now. Let's tone this thing down a little bit. How's everybody doing? We got a 3-gamer now with this latest being canceled. There is no longer a Denver Nuggets and Golden State Warriors game tonight. So that is the latest. Patrick, welcome in. The Prince, how we doing tonight? Claw, what's going on, guys? So this 3-gamer shouldn't take too long to go over, really. We can definitely get into some sneakier plays, kind of talk that over, try to figure out stuff that's going to make us a little bit different, all of that fun stuff. If you enjoy the stream, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. And, yeah, I guess without further ado, let's get into it. We did get confirmation on a starting lineup. The Orlando Magic are going to start Tim Frazier, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Gillespie, and Carter Jr. So there was a little bit of speculation as to whether they would be starting Mo Wagner or some other stuff. And Anthony Gill was also ruled in, which is kind of relevant, believe it or not, because there is no Davis Bertans, and there is no Spencer Dinwiddie, so that's going to open up some more minutes for this Wizard squad as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Anthony Gill off the bench could possibly be a little bit interesting. Curious who they're going to be giving minutes to. Denny Avicii will definitely be a lock for them to be giving minutes to. So we'll do a little bit of a game-by-game on DraftKings, and then we'll talk about FanDuel as well. Don't worry, for you FanDuel people, I won't leave you hanging. We'll talk about both. I think that with such a small slate, the values are going to be kind of obvious on both websites anyways. There will be some pricing discrepancies, but we'll talk about it as we go along here. So, yeah, let's get into it. Philly taking on Brooklyn is the first game. Both these teams looking pretty healthy, so nothing crazy going on here. Shake Milton is listed as questionable. If he is for some reason ruled out, I think that's going to open up more minutes for an Isaiah Joe. One guy that people might not be quite thinking about that I also think that would really benefit is going to be down here at 3-2, Mr. Furkan Korkmaz. He already grades out as a decent tournament play in my projection model as is at 3-2 on DraftKings. Can shoot the 3-ball really well. If we do get confirmation that there is indeed no Shake Milton, I think that's a pretty relevant piece of news that some other people might be a little bit slow to react to. So Furkan Korkmaz at 3-2. Certainly worth monitoring that Shake Milton news. We should have all this news in plenty of time on the slate tonight because all the games are starting at 7 o'clock. So I don't think we're going to have to be too concerned about that as far as like injury news, not having injury news before these games start because they all start at 7 o'clock. This slate is going to end very early. It's going to be a fun and instantaneous slate here. We're going to know who's doing well very quickly. So that's kind of new. So you don't have to be staying up late, sweating your lineups. If you're big about that, you'll know pretty early tonight. So that's going to be nice. But yeah, Furkan Korkmaz's the one I would be looking to for pay-up options in this game. Obviously, you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joel Embiid. I like all these guys. They all project relatively the same for me. I think that you can just go ahead and put in your favorites. Believe it or not, I think the hundreds of dollars are going to matter on this slate tonight. Like, based upon my builds and going stars and scrubs, playing a guy like a Bradley Beal who's 10-1 versus playing a guy like a Joel Embiid that's 11K is making a big difference for me as far as the value that I can fit in. So this is going to be an interesting slate. We no longer have the end game of Nikola Jokic and Stephen Curry, which we were kind of debating on all day. But now we have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joel Embiid. All their teams are pretty healthy. I do really like Joel Embiid in this spot, taking on a Brooklyn squad that just really hasn't been that great defensively. They are getting some guys back, Kevin Durant, so their defense should be a little bit better, that kind of thing. But this is the fastest-paced game on the slate with a 222 over-under, and Joel Embiid is the main usage guy on this team. And he's 11K as opposed to 11.6 for Giannis and 11.1 for Harden and 11.2 for Kevin Durant. So you do get a slight discount on him, and I think there's a pretty high probability that he can match their scores. So I do like Joel Embiid quite a bit here. Giannis dealing with the possible blowout as well, so you got to factor that into when selecting him. Tobias Harris at 88 on DraftKings is just too expensive for me. especially on a slate with Cleveland dealing with some injuries. We'll talk about some guys priced in the mid-range that I like a lot more. 8-8, that's just going to be a no for me. He's priced up too much for his upside and production, in my opinion. Andre Drummond, like, that's a no. I really don't like anyone on the Philadelphia side outside of the pay-up options. I mean, Seth Curry, Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey grades out as a phenomenal play at 5.6 in projection models because he's going to play mid-30s minutes. He could easily go out there and put up 35, 40 DraftKings points. We've seen him really kind of take a hit since Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris have returned, though. His usage has been way down. If you want to take a risk on Tyrese Maxey, I certainly think he makes sense. It does grade out as a great play for me. But I do think that these guys returning is relevant and something that you should be noting in, something that you should be taking note of. Because the fact of the matter is, clearly his results are going down with Joel Embiid being back. Joel Embiid's using up all the usage. There's some other cheaper value plays that we'll talk about on the Orlando Magic, etc., that I think that you might be wanting to prioritize in your lineup. Seth Curry and Tyrese Maxey are decent plays. Bruce Brown, Nicholas Claxton, Blake Griffin, Cam Thomas, Duke Jr., all being back now. Good luck. If you want to take some stabs on those guys in this in your tournament lineups, have fun. I personally will stay away. The only guy that I would say would be Furkan Korkmaz at that 3-2 price tag. Like I said, especially if there is no Shake Milton. It's going to grade out as a phenomenal tournament play for me. Cleveland taking on Washington. Bradley Beal, we did get confirmation that he is indeed active. He's going to play today. That immediately puts him up there at the top of my list because he's going to be, the point guard. There's no Spencer Dinwiddie in this game now. Bradley Beal's going to start at the point guard position. He's going to have a bunch of on-ball handling responsibilities. He's going to have a huge amount of assist upside, scoring upside, usage upside. You get it. And he's priced to 10-1 as opposed to all these guys priced up at 11K or higher. So it's a nice little discount, believe it or not. Once again, that $800, $900 on today's slate could go a really long way for you in your tournament lineups because we have a bunch of different values that are standing out to me, but you kind of need the extra $100 or few dollars to get to them. And oftentimes in these builds, if you want to put 2 or 3 studs in your lineups. So I think Bradley Beal could be a nice alternative at a discount. And some other guys with Washington dealing with all these injuries, Kyle Kuzma is going to get a bump up. We could also see Denny Avicii get quite a bit of run in this one because there is indeed no Montrezl Harrell, no Davis Bertans now. I think he's going to grade out as a pretty phenomenal value play at 4.7, and the same can be said for Daniel Gafford, with there being no Montrezl Harrell. He played 36 minutes last time out at a 5K price tag, produces at a very high rate, putting up 1.04 DK points per minute on the season so far. So I think that Daniel Gafford, obviously, going to be a phenomenal play. Certainly would not, talk you off of him in your tournament lineups. And then on the Cleveland side, with there being even no Ricky Rubio now, I think Kevin Love gets a big bump up in usage at 6.7 if you want to go to him. His only issue has been minutes. We saw him play 32 minutes last time out, where he's only been playing like 23 minutes and still putting up 40 DraftKings points. So if he's going to play in the mid-30s minutes now, that is obviously very relevant news, and this is a guy that's producing at an extremely high rate on the season. Pulling up my statistics here on the season for you guys as far as how he's been producing on a permanent basis. Pulling up the Cleveland squad, we can see that Kevin Love has been putting up 1.34 DK points per minute. Over a 26-game sample size, 532 minutes, he has been really killing it on a permanent basis. I mean, that's elite stuff. That's right up there with some of the top fantasy point producers in the league. So if Kevin Love is going to go from 20 minutes to 35 minutes, that is a very big deal. And I would encourage you to take note of that. Does that mean that he's going to play 32 minutes this game? Not necessarily, but he did last game. He could again, and if he does at 6.7, putting up 1.34 DK points per minute, going to be an absolute smash play. His usage should go up even more with there being no Ricky Rubio, as mentioned. So for that reason, he certainly makes sense at 6.7. The other guy, Lauri Markkanen at 5.8, also priced in the mid-range, should get a big bump up in usage here. Should play in the mid-30s, you would anticipate again. And you have a bunch of other guys on the Cleveland side that you could be taking stabs on. Isaac Okoro expected to get a lot of minutes at 4.4. He doesn't exactly produce at the highest rate, so it's a little bit scary, but the fact of the matter is his price tag's cheap. He should get quite a few minutes. He puts up 0.66 DK points per minute. Personally, I tried to lean towards fading these kind of guys when they're going to get a lot of ownership. Kevin Pangos, same thing for him. He's expected to get the start at the point guard position now with there being no Ricky Rubio. Another guy that doesn't produce the highest rate but is cheap and expected to get a lot of minutes starting alongside Mr. Okoro at 3.8. Maybe he goes out there and plays 30 minutes or so. even though at a 3.8 price tag, he's only producing around 0.68 DK points per minute on the season. You got to just kind of take note of this stuff because all of the usage that Ricky Rubio was taking up is now going to obviously flow to these other guys. So Cleveland certainly with taking some stabs on in your tournaments. There's a bunch of usage to go around. Washington, same thing. We talked about it. Kyle Kuzma, Daniel Gafford. My favorite as far as upside at his price tag would be Denny Avdija. You take out all of these guys in Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans now. I do think that that's really, really relevant for him, as well as Montrezl Harrell. He's putting up 0.83 DK points per minute on the season, so that's very good production. So once again, Denny Avdija, certainly going to make a lot of sense to me at his 4.7 price tag on DraftKings. And I certainly would encourage you to play him. Sir Dwayne Moody says, how would you rank the pay-up spots on DK? That is very tough, my friend. I will give you my ranking. They're all really close. Like I said, though, I do think that Giannis Antetokounmpo being involved in a possible blowout is very relevant. If he doesn't get his full allotment of minutes, that's going to obviously really deter him from having the big upside game that we need out of him for that price tag. So it's a little bit scary for me. Right now, based upon my projections, I would have them in order of from a raw points aspect. Well, first of all, I don't like to go by raw points aspect because that doesn't do anything for you. You really need to be targeting guys that are going to have the most upside at their price tag. The guys that have the most upside at their price tag for me right now are going to be Joel Embiid and James Harden. And when I tell you that the few $100s really matters, I mean it. I mean, we're talking about $100 off Kevin Durant to James Harden and $100 off James Harden to Joel Embiid, and that's making a difference for me. Now, keep in mind, Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to absolutely smash if this game stays close. The problem is it has a 14.5 point spread. The Orlando Magic are terrible, and now they're completely hurt. They have a starting lineup of Tim Frazier, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Freddie Gillespie, and Wendell Carter Jr. So do we anticipate this game to stay close? I would say no. I don't think that they're going to really push the Giannis minutes. Could Giannis still get there in 30 minutes? Absolutely. We've seen him do it before. He played 30 minutes against a Boston squad and put up 63 DraftKings points. So, that's certainly good. But could James Harden, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Bradley Beal all put up 60 DraftKings points at a cheaper price tag? Absolutely. And if they match that performance out of Giannis Antetokounmpo and you have those free $100, I think on a slate like this, that's going to go a very long way. Believe it or not. So that's kind of how I'm analyzing the pay-up options in this one. I do think that it's worth, those few $100 if you think this game turns into a blowout. If you think the game stays close, you're probably going to be playing some of these Orlando guys. So let's get into this third game. Before we do, guys, if you're enjoying the content, if you could take a second to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload, that would be greatly appreciated. We got 20 people in here, only 5 likes. Trying to get to 20 likes on all these live streams. Greatly appreciate your support. And I'll be here all NBA DFS season long, breaking down these NBA DFS slates to help you guys become better NBA DFS players, help you win some money night in and night out. That's the goal on the channel. So yeah, this game, Milwaukee taking on Orlando. Pretty much, you got to determine whether you think this game's going to stay close. If you think it's going to, obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo going to be a phenomenal play. If you think it blows out, I think that you probably want to lean towards playing some cheaper guys. You have Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo as pay-up options on the Milwaukee side. Honestly, I think I don't really have a lot of interest in Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday as is. They're just priced in that range where I don't really want to go here. Their team's fully healthy. We talked about some other teams dealing with some injuries, getting some bumps up in usage, and they're just not at all. So I think it's Giannis or nothing for me as far as Milwaukee. Now, don't get me wrong. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton could maybe get some lower ownership and really pay off for you in your tournaments. So if you want to go there, that's perfectly fine, but I do think it's a tournament play. I wouldn't highly advise doing it. Bobby Portis would probably be my favorite option at 7.5. He's just priced respectably to where he could go out there and put up, 45 DraftKings points at a 7.5 price tag against a terrible Orlando front court. And you'd be pretty happy with that at his respective price tag. So, once again, upside at his price tag, he'd be my favorite option on this team. And you could definitely be taking the blowout approach on the Milwaukee side. So who would I be playing in the blowout? Probably a Jordan Nwora here at 4.3. He seems to be the guy that's the young talent that gets the most run in blowouts. He's played 27, 28 minutes the last 2 times out, has produced 35, 21 DraftKings points. Definitely more of a risky option, but if the game does blow out, I think he could definitely get there for you. And on the Orlando side, We did get confirmation on the Orlando starting lineup. So we have Tim Frazier, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Freddie Gillespie. Breaking down how these guys produce on a permanent basis. Let's go ahead and pull up the Orlando Magic here. Just figure out some of the top values on their side. So Wendell Carter Jr., obviously, if the game stays close, at 7.6, producing at a 1.13 DK point per minute clip. Going to be a phenomenal play. The same can be said for Franz Wagner, 0.89 DK points per minute. The problem is, once again, if the game does not stay close, you're going to have a problem on your hands paying up for these guys. So I might advise you to not get too excited about playing them. They could still get there in a blowout, though. I would say only one of them gets there in a blowout, though, so probably limit your exposure. Robin Lopez was ruled out. That's a big piece of news. I do think that means we see more minutes for Mo Wagner, who does produce at a very high rate, puts up 0.98 DK points per minute. I was interested to see if he's going to start, though, and he's not starting. So don't get me wrong, at a 3-2 price tag, maybe they do give him some run. And if they do give him some run, then obviously he's going to smash at his price tag. So him... I also think that Admiral Schofield could possibly be an interesting option, 0.69 DK points per minute. But with Tim Frazier starting, I think that's a big piece of news. I think he has 1 day left on his 10-day contract. He's only put up 0.54 DK points per minute, though. But with him starting, I think that should probably increase in this situation. And he's only 3-1. He doesn't have to do too much for you. And the same could be said for Freddie Gillespie, putting up 0.92 DK points per minute. I do think that he is a pretty interesting option. On the Orlando Magic side at only a 3-1 price tag. So, Freddie Gillespie, Admiral Schofield, Mo Wagner, Tim Frazier, they're all worth taking a stab on. And RJ Hampton's going to be the number one option for me at 3.9, even though he's not starting. Everyone kind of thought he was going to start, to be honest, but him coming off the bench, I think he's pretty much blowout proof. He produces at a really high rate. He's putting up 0.84 DK points per minute on the season. RJ Hampton's always been a guy that I've looked to target in blowouts. I mean, we're talking about since he played for the Denver Nuggets. He used to play for the Denver Nuggets, and the same thing would kind of apply there. Anytime that I thought that there was a possibility for the game to turn into a blowout, I would make sure to have some RJ Hampton exposure. He's just that guy that seems to get the job done, always produces from a fantasy point aspect. And I certainly do think that I have interest in him again tonight. So, certainly worth taking a look to. Patrick says, 6 likes and 15 people hit the like button. Yeah, it looks like we have 10 likes now, so thank you guys for hitting the like button. Klaus says, do you like Mobley? I think he's decent. I just think that Mobley's priced pretty respectable for his output, like 7-8. Do I think that Mobley could go out there and put up 40, 45 DraftKings points? Absolutely. But do I think that guys that are priced at 1,000 or even less than him could do the same on this slate? Yes. So that's where it becomes a concern for me. So I think it's a decent option. Kuzma or Franz Wagner? I would go... That's a good question, man. It depends on if the Milwaukee-Orlando game stays close. So you're going to have to kind of take that approach. I tend to think Franz Wagner put up 56 DraftKings points last time out. He scored 38 real-life points. Do I think that Franz Wagner is going to score 38 real-life points again? No, I don't. And do I think his ownership is going to be inflated because of it? Yes, I do. So my approach is probably going to be to not play Franz Wagner. It's a 3-game slate. The guy put up 56 DraftKings points. If people are going to flock to him, I'm just going to be the one that doesn't do that. So that's kind of my personal approach, but to each their own. So with that being said, I would go with Kuzma. I don't know. I'd probably still go with Franz, though. I'm just speaking from a game theory aspect. But if you want my actual answer, I'd go with Franz because Franz Wagner is going to have all the usage on the Orlando Magic. Now that Bradley Beal is ruled in for the Washington Wizards, he's going to take away usage from Kyle Kuzma. So my answer would be Franz. I just think the recency bias is going to make Franz Wagner extremely high owned, and I don't want to be part of that. So that's just me being honest with you. But it's not that he's a bad play. He's going to get a bunch of usage. I get it. But I'm probably going to be someone sitting on the sidelines and watching everyone else, hopefully watching him bust, because I'm not going to have him. Claw says, Maxey or Markkanen for points, not cost. They're both very highly volatile plays, and we just got confirmation that Shake Milton's in. I'd go with Lauri Markkanen because, once again, his team's dealing with more injuries. The Philadelphia 76ers are pretty much fully healthy, and we just got confirmation that Shake Milton's in as well, which doesn't help his case any. So I would go with Mr. Lauri Markkanen with the Cavs dealing with those injuries. I'd go there. For Americans, where it's better to play basketball in the G League or the Euro League, which is considered the second best league in the world of basketball? I'm not going to touch on that because we talk about mostly daily fantasy sports here, but maybe some other time on Twitter or something, you can tweet at me and we can talk a little bit about that. Claw says, Kuzma Portis or Carter Jr.? I don't know, Claw. I mean, I don't mean to be a cop-out here, but the fact of the matter is, this game needs to stay close for like Wendell Carter Jr. and Franz Wagner to really have big games. And the Orlando Magic were able to keep this game close last time. I think this is just my personal take, I think the Milwaukee Bucks just absolutely killed them this time. Like, it's not even close. I think Milwaukee gets up by like 30 in the first half. And just kills them. Milwaukee is completely healthy. Or the Orlando Magic are down to 9 guys, and some of those guys are named Tim Frazier, Freddie Gillespie, Admiral Schofield, and Ignas Brazdeikis. So the Milwaukee Bucks are defending world champions. They have a tremendous team. They're very deep. Once you take their starters out, they still have DeMarcus Cousins, George Hill, Pat Connaughton, Dante DiVincenzo, which I would argue their backup squad could probably go out there and beat this Orlando Magic team. So I think I'm going to be approaching it as if the Magic just get killed here. So for that reason, I'm going to be getting a lot of exposure to the cheaper Magic guys and probably fading the upper Magic guys. The upper Magic guys are also going to have a ton of usage though, so that might come back to burn me. So if you want to go with them, certainly do. But you need to realize that is a very relevant thing. If this game turns into a blowout, that is going to impact many of these players' productions in whether they reach their ceiling or not. So pick which side of the fence you're on and go with it. If you want to tell me your prediction in the chat, feel free to. That's my prediction. So, yeah. Milton or Markkanen? Markkanen, not even close. Do you like Gary Harris for Orlando? I don't really like Gary Harris that much because he doesn't produce at a very high rate. He plays lots of minutes, but he doesn't really do that much when he's out there. I'd much rather go to a cheaper Orlando Magic guy like an RJ Hampton who we discussed. Looking at Gary Harris's permanent production, he only puts up 0.64 DK points per minute. Now, he is expected to play a bunch of minutes. Could he get there at 5-1? Yes. Do I think there's other guys in that price range that I'd rather go to? Yes. Kind of like a Danny Avdija that we talked about earlier on the Washington squad. That would be someone that I'd be willing to get more exposure to myself. At 4.7, he just produces at a higher rate. There's no Davis Bertans. There's no Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he is a pretty nice, fine value play for you tonight on this slate. So that would be my approach there. Claw with the $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Claw. He says, keep it up. Appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. And Claw's a premium content member, a channel member, and a very good supporter of my content. So I appreciate you very much, Claw. The Prince says, one starter will always be in for Orlando. Yeah, that's one way you could look at it. They also could just dump the bench out, though, and just run, all these guys into the ground that are on 10-day contracts to try to save Franz Wagner and Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, I understand that Franz Wagner and Wendell Carter Jr. are young kids, so they could probably play a lot of minutes. But, I mean, we saw Marcus Garrett play last time out, and now Marcus Garrett's out as well. So, at some point, they're going to have to kind of save their starters so they don't die out there. You know what I mean? Wendell Carter Jr., 33 minutes. I guess he didn't play that much last time. Franz Wagner, 38 minutes, though. I don't know. I just think Milwaukee absolutely kills these guys tonight. So that would be my anticipation. And I think I have a lot more interest in taking some shots on these cheaper guys. Guys on the Orlando side that I would be interested in. We kind of listed them off. I mean, looking at my production as far as guys that produce at a high rate here. RJ Hampton, he puts up 0.84 DK points per minute. I think he could get some more run if this game turns into a blowout. Mo Wagner's 3.2. He puts up 0.98. Admiral Schofield, 0.69. Freddie Gillespie is now getting the start. He's only 3.1. He's putting up 0.92 DK points per minute. And anything that he does takes away from the higher priced guys on the Orlando Magic. So I think that's going to be my approach. Like I said, it could come back to burn me if you really have it. If you have a feeling that these top guys in Wendell Carter Jr. and Franz Wagner are going to go off and you want to go with them because they're getting a lot of usage and all that stuff, don't let me talk you off it. I'm just telling you what my approach is going to be if it comes back to burn me. Sure. there's just something about this game staying close with the Orlando Magic being completely depleted and then them losing another guy that I don't think they're going to be able to keep it close again. There's a 14.5-point spread. I think they were very fortunate to keep this game close against the best team in the league when they're fully healthy. They have Drew Holiday, they have Grayson Allen, they have Chris Middleton, they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, they have Bobby Portis, and they have their whole bench. Cousins, Hill, Connaughton, DiVincenzo. The entire league is dealing with injuries and illnesses right now, and I think the Milwaukee side doesn't have who do they have out? Brook Lopez and Semi Ojeleye. That's it. That's absurd that they're this healthy. I mean, good for them. I would never wish for anyone to be dealing with this stuff right now, but most teams are, and they aren't. Patrick with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick says, "You're the man. You're the man, Patrick. I appreciate all your support, man." Patrick's also a very top supporter here. I appreciate you. Premium content member, channel member. Appreciate it. DePrince says they only have 9, remember. Yeah, I know. I hear you, DePrince. Exactly. That's the counter argument here. The Orlando Magic do only have 9. And I want to make sure I get over the FanDuel so that I cover the FanDuel slate as well for the people that play on FanDuel before we get too sidetracked here, because I will answer all your questions regardless. So let's talk about this a little bit. We already talked about, It's How My Life says, you do FanDuel. Yeah, I got you, man. Kuzma or Love? Both very good plays, Claw. That is a tough question. I would go with Kevin Love just because he has a higher DK point per minute clip. I mean, Kevin Love's been phenomenal, like I talked about. He's putting up like 1.34 DK points per minute. That's very, very impressive stuff. So I'd go with Kevin Love. All right, on FanDuel. Let's talk about FanDuel a little bit. Let's pull up my sheets on the side screen here, talk about FanDuel, see some pricing discrepancies, point out the top plays to you guys. We already kind of covered this. Daniel Gafford over here on FanDuel, once again, priced very reasonably at only a 5.2, and he produces at an even higher rate over here on FanDuel because you get the 3 points for the blocks and steals. And typically, Daniel Gafford's pretty good for a few blocks. And he will have some outlier games. For instance, this one against Detroit where he put up 6 blocks. If he puts up 6 blocks tonight, you're going to be very happy camper on FanDuel. So I think that Daniel Gafford, he's the center position as well on FanDuel. So he's a nice little piece of relief in your lineups as far as salary relief. Joel Embiid is the pay-up option at center is the only problem. So if you are playing Daniel Gafford, you're sacrificing the ability to play Joel Embiid. So that would be the only downside there. Now, Daniel Gafford has the upside to certainly make you not regret that. But just keep that in mind. You could also look to a Wendell Carter or Kevin Love. We talked about them, 2 of the top options in the 7K range. Those would probably be all the guys that I'm looking to play at center. I don't really think there's anyone else worth getting cute with. Bobby Portis, Evan Mobley possibly. But anyone else, I don't really think you want to be looking to on this slate. Power forward, you have Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo. On FanDuel, Kevin Durant's a lot more expensive than Giannis Antetokounmpo, so that makes things a little bit interesting. I was talking about taking the discount to KD on DraftKings over here on FanDuel. They make it a little bit different on you because Giannis is a little bit of a discount, so it's kind of a vice versa thing there because that's a little bit different. Tobias Harris, there's a big pricing difference over here on FanDuel as well. At 7.4, I'd be much more willing to play him than at his 8.8 price tag over on DraftKings. That's just a no from me. So he's someone I'd be willing to get exposure to over here on FanDuel. That should grade out as a pretty top play for you. Kyle Kuzma at 6K, now that there is indeed no Spencer Dinwiddie, going to be a phenomenal play. Once again, cheaper on FanDuel, making it a little bit easier on you to put him in your lineups. And the same can be said for Lauri Markkanen, Denny Avdija. We talked about these 3 guys in the price. Their mid-price range, all phenomenal plays, all dealing with injuries and also get a big bump up in their usage because of this. So those 3 guys definitely going to make a lot of sense to me on this slate tonight. On FanDuel, Freddie Gillespie getting the start at 4.4 on FanDuel is a lot tougher to play over here on FanDuel than on DraftKings where he's 3.1, so that's probably going to be a no for me on FanDuel specifically. Could he outperform that? Sure, but I think that you're getting a little bit too cute there. FanDuel is just a lot easier to be fitting these guys in. Small forward, Franz Wagner at 7.1. If you want to go there, sure. Once again, like I said, my approach probably would be to be a little bit underweight on him. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at 4.8, a guy that's notorious for getting some steals, so him returning, playing a lot of minutes, not really someone I would want to be getting too much exposure to, but he's a risky option that could pay off for you in your tournament lineups if you would like to go there, Mr. KCP. Don't have an issue with that. And that's kind of who I'd be looking to at that position. The shooting guard position, Brad Beal, 8.3 is an absolute smash play over here on FanDuel. That's way too cheap. He's way more expensive on DraftKings, and I still have interest in him over there. So on FanDuel, where he's only 8.3, playing the point guard position now with there being no Spencer Dinwiddie, his usage should be way up. He should be getting a bunch of assist upside, usage upside, scoring upside, all of the above. You put a guy like Bradley Beal with this kind of talent at the point guard position, it's going to go a long way for his fantasy point upside. So I certainly do like Bradley Beal, especially on FanDuel. Patty Mills priced way too high now with Kevin Durant and James Harden being back. Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, decent plays in the mid-range. Not getting too excited about them. RJ Hampton at 5'3" is priced up a lot more respectable on FanDuel. I do think that he's still viable. We've seen him put up 31, 26 FanDuel points, but once again, a lot easier to be clicking that button over there on DraftKings. So not nearly as much of a priority for me on FanDuel. Still a viable play, but not getting as excited. And then when you work your way over to the point guard position on FanDuel, let's see. James Harden pay-up option, I think, is a great place to start, honestly. This position is really banged up. A lot of people out. There's barely anyone to play at the point guard position. Obviously, Tim Frazier getting the start at 3-7. I tend to think a very popular approach at the point guard position on FanDuel would be to play James Harden and then pay down for Tim Frazier, and I would give you the full green light to do so because I think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. So, yeah, there's a quick little rundown on FanDuel. Hopefully I answered all your questions, and if you have any more questions, I will gladly answer them in the chat. We have 30 people in here. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. You can also check out the sponsor of the program if you aren't familiar with Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a player prop site over here. I give out picks all year long. Really cool. You can go ahead and pick a game, pick 2 players from the game, decide whether they're going to go over or under. If you pick 2 picks right, you get a 3 times payout. 3 picks right, you get a 6x payout. And 4 picks right, you get a 10x payout. I also have a segment on the channel called the KJK DFS Bankroll Challenge where I'm going to be giving out picks for this, and I've been giving out picks on the live stream. So we can even go over some picks live on the stream if you'd like. If you'd like to see that, go ahead and tell me in the chat. And I'm also going to put that link right there. Use promo code KJK003, or I put the link in the chat. It's also linked below in the description if you want to check out Parlay Play. Really cool site, and we just got confirmation that Kevin Pangos is indeed going to start for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he is confirmed as the starter. So yeah, guys, he'll be interesting. I'll be updating my projections and core plays for all my premium members after this as well, guys. If you aren't familiar, I do offer a premium content package. For the month of December, I'm offering the Discord package for only $1, giving back to you guys during the holiday season, the new year, all that fun stuff. You can hop in the Discord for only $1. You can also check out the KJK DFS NBA package, where you get access to my premium NBA projections, NBA data sheet player stats, team stats, play context stats, core plays, a bunch of different color-coded sheets that will give you some good stuff. I'm going to give you an example of one right now. I'll put it on the screen for free, give you a little bit of a sneak peek behind the paywall. This is my defensive shooting accuracy sheet. So if you look at this sheet, this will tell you which teams have defended which shots the best on the season and which teams are giving up the most amount of particular shots. So you have things like around the rim. So that tells you, obviously, how they're doing around the rim, defending the rim. So inside guys, center guys, like a Joel Embiid, for instance. Joel Embiid's taken on the Brooklyn Nets, looking at how the Brooklyn Nets have fared against the big man position on the season. You can see they are 14th in the league as far as rim rank, so they've actually been pretty good around the rim, pretty good at everything, has Brooklyn, as far as their defense against shooting. So maybe not the top spot to target on the slate, but then when you go up to a team like an Orlando Magic, who have been absolutely terrible defensively all season long, you can see that they are dead last in long mid-range shots allowed. They are 29th in mid-range shots overall allowed, or made, I should say. Shots made allowed against them is the proper way to determine that. And against the 3-ball in the non-corner, they're 28th. So all threes, they're 23rd. So clearly Orlando is not a very good defensive team. For that reason, you would want to be targeting them, and some of my tools will help you determine which ones are, which ones aren't. And this is only one of 16 sheets. I have the offensive shooting accuracy, a bunch of different stuff. So check that out if you're interested. And with that being said, let's go ahead and answer any more questions you guys have here. Beal or Embiid? I would go with Bradley Beal. Like I said, the 76ers are more healthy. Bradley Beal returning as the point guard. And he's a little bit cheaper at a discount. So my answer is Beal as far as upside at his price tag. Keep in mind, I still really do like Joel Embiid. If you could play them both in your lineup, I think that would be great. So certainly do like both of them. And yeah, guys, it's 6:05. We got 22 people in here, only 17 likes. If you're enjoying the stream, hit that like button. Do greatly appreciate it. Subscribe as well. It really does help me go a long way to keep building this channel and providing you guys with the top-notch quality, because I am nothing without your support. I really do appreciate all the support that I've received. It does mean a lot to me, so thank you guys. And let me know if you have any more questions in the chat. We can certainly go over them. Parlay play. It looks like we needed some people. Some people want some parlay play picks. All right, so let's talk about this. NBA. I think the Cleveland-Washington game could be a good one to target tonight because they're both dealing with injuries. Obviously, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love, Evan Mobley available to take picks from. On the Wizards side, you have Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. Clicking above their head, Bradley Beal, 35.5 parlay points. And I think that he could certainly get the over that tonight. I mean, I've got Bradley Beal projected for. Let's see here. Fantasy points, I've got Bradley Beal projected for 39 from a base point perspective. So that's 4 more points there. So if you want to take that, certainly wouldn't mind it. Kyle Kuzma, let's see what his line's at, though. That might be a little bit lower. Kyle Kuzma, 26.5. That could be a great pick because there is indeed no Spencer Dinwiddie. He probably gets the biggest bump up. And then Lauri Markkanen, with there being no Ricky Rubio, 21.5. That's respectable. You could also be looking to a Kevin Love, who we talked about. The parlay points, 23.5. I really like that line. I mean, Kevin Love should absolutely smash that with the way he's been producing. Kyle Kuzma, I've got projected for 27, so that's cutting it a little bit close. You can always take the unders on these, of course, as well. But I typically like to look for the ones that are low, and I take the over. Just kind of the way I roll. Life's too short to take the under, as they say. So... but you can take the under if you want to go to maybe, like I said, the guys where the line's a little bit close, like a Kyle Kuzma. Sure, take the under, but I don't really have an official pick. This crazy stuff that's been going on with the injuries has made it very difficult on me to be having these picks ready for the streams. But I do like to kind of go along as we go and just explore over here on Parlay. Check them out. They have football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and we'll get back into the Parlay Play Bankroll Challenge. I have the old graphic here, but when you do deposit using my promo code KJK003, they will match your first deposit up to $50. They'll also give you a risk-free $10 to play with right off the bat. So you can use that link in the description, use the link in the chat, use the code KJK003. Check out Parlay Play. It is a lot of fun. And I wish I had more time to prepare for it with all the injury news and stuff, but with this craziness going on. Claw says, Hampton or Pango? I personally would still go with Hampton. He just produces at a higher rate. They're priced around the same price range, but I think that RJ Hampton is blowout proof regardless of what happens in this Orlando Magic game. Even if it does turn into a blowout, I think he still gets run. And he produces at a higher rate than Pango, so that's personally who I would go with. Claw says Harris or Drew Holiday. I'd definitely go with Harris there. Carter Jr. or Franz Wagner, Asoff says. Carter Jr. or Franz Wagner? That is a good question, my friend. I think I'd go with Wendell Carter Jr. because he has more upside with rebounding and other peripheral stats rather than just scoring. Franz Wagner is very reliant on his scoring, so I'd go with Wendell Carter Jr. And as far as who I have grading out as a better play in my projections, I also do have Wendell Carter Jr. Grading out as a better play there as well. Returning 4.8 times value. I'm really not too high on Franz Wagner, to be honest. I'm not too high on Franz Wagner. Everyone is so high on Franz Wagner, I feel like, after this big game. And I think he's going to go out here and lay a stinker. I got to be honest, man. He put up 56 DraftKings points and 38 real-life points. Anytime a guy puts up 38 real-life points and they still only end up with, like, you know, barely over that in DraftKings points, that means they're very reliant on scoring. I might be wrong. He's going to have a ton of usage. He shot 20 times last time out. I'm sure he could shoot 20 times again. But if the game doesn't stay close, I don't think they're going to let Franz Wagner, the future of their franchise, stay out there running around risking injury for no reason. He's young. He's got to develop, so maybe they will, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. He played 38 minutes last time in a game that stayed close. I think he could go out there and play like 30 minutes in a blowout and still have a decent game, but at 7,000, I mean, like, do I think that RJ Hampton could match what he puts up at only 3,900 tonight? I do. And for that reason, I'm just going to take the cheaper guys on the Orlando Magic. We saw RJ Hampton play 28 minutes last time, 24 DraftKings points. If Franz Wagner goes out there and has a decent game, like 35, and RJ Hampton puts up 35 at 3.9, which is very possible, and I don't play Franz Wagner, I'm gonna be happy, and that's gonna be kind of my approach here. Holiday or Mobley, I'd go with Mobley there. Once again, the Milwaukee Bucks are fully healthy. I'm good on that. What about Carter? Do you think he will get long run? I think it depends upon if this game turns into a blowout or not. I think regardless, he plays like right around 30 points. 30 minutes. So I think he's a respectable option. 7-6. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is a very solid play. I like him a lot more than Franz Wagner. I'll say that much. So that's personally how I would approach it. But are there guys that are a little bit cheaper than Wendell Carter Jr. that are in good spots that could outperform him? I do think so. 7-6, like a Kyle Kuzma at 6'8", a Kevin Love at 6'7", dealing with both squads, dealing with injuries. A Lauri Markkanen at 5'8" could even get there. The likelihood isn't too high, but he could. So yeah, Daniel Gafford at 5K. I mean, he could easily. If Daniel Gafford plays 36 minutes, he could drop 50 DraftKings points. He has the production to do so. If he gets those minutes, absolutely. 2K Plug says, do you like KD over 26 points? Well, I'll tell you right now exactly what I have him projected for in my projection system, because I can see in the back end of what goes into my projections. And I have Kevin Durant projected for 29.45 exactly real life points. So yes, I do like the over 26 points for him, because my projections are telling me that he's going to score 29.45. Obviously, you cannot score 0.45 of a point, but you get the point. You get the gist. That's what he's projected for in my system. And it's a fast up-paced game, and he gets a lot of usage, and it's a 222 over-under, which is the fastest-paced game on the slate. So, yes, I do think that Kevin Durant's going to get you some buckets tonight. Ace-Off says, Carter Jr. or Mobley? I'd probably go with Carter Jr. there. They're both good plays, though. Larry says, Embiid lock. Yeah, I like Embiid. I certainly do like Embiid quite a bit. He's 11K. He is the cheapest of the superstars. He is going to get the highest usage of the superstars, I would say, outside of Bradley Beal. I think both those guys get the highest usage just based upon the fact that they're not having to split it with another superstar. Like James Harden and Kevin Durant are sharing usage. Well, Giannis is going to get a lot of usage too, but the fact of the matter is you have Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton back, Bobby Portis back. So once again, a team that's fully healthy. It's tough, man. It's tough. Giannis could go out there and drop 70, and you're going to feel real dumb not having him because he is the best matchup on the board. The Orlando Magic are terrible defensively. They're entirely short-handed. They don't have anyone that can hang with Giannis. And really what it's probably going to come down to is how long the Bucks coaching staff is willing to run him out there. We've seen the Bucks coaching staff be very careful with Giannis, though, in blowouts in the past. So we kind of have a track record here to follow along. Last time he played 30 minutes, and that game was pretty tight, to be honest with you. They knew they were going to win. He still only played 30 minutes. He had 5 fouls, so he was in a little bit of foul trouble, but still, if there was ever a game for him to play in the mid-30s, that would have been the one. It was close, and they still didn't play him that many minutes, so I think they just don't really care. They know they're going to win this game, taking on, at best, NBA D-League team probably in the Orlando Magic with the way the team they're rolling out right now. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on them. But, I mean, look at the roster, guys. It's not pretty. Kuzma or Carter Jr.? I would go with Carter Jr. Once again, more rebounding upside. Kyle Kuzma is a little bit more scoring reliant. So, do you think KD would play less minutes today? Nah, I don't think so. I think Kevin Durant's the type of guy. They're not going to bring him back until he's fully healthy. It's expected to be a close game. They're playing Philly, Eastern Conference. They need the win kind of thing. I don't think that they would rush Kevin Durant back. I don't think he really rolls like that. I think he goes out there and plays at least 35 minutes or 32 minutes to be on the safe side. But regardless, it's Kevin Durant. He could get you there. He's playing like 40 minutes a game. Plays in the mid-30s to upper 30s, I think, again. So I'm not worried about his minutes whatsoever. All right, guys, we've got 20 people in here, 17 likes. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like button. Would greatly appreciate it. If you have any more questions, please let me know. I will gladly answer them. If you don't, I might head over to the Patreon aspect of this program, updating my projections, my core plays, all that fun stuff for my premium content members. If you would like to become a premium content member, you can do so by going over to patreon.com/KJK_DFS. You do get access to all of these things. My NBA projections, my data sheet, my player stats, my team stats, my play context stats, half-court putback stats, transition stats. You can see all that fun stuff. Rebound percentage, assist percentage, usage percentage, blocks, steal percentage. Everything that you need to be successful at NBA DFS will be all color-coded in an NBA DFS sheet for you. Nicely organized, color-coded to let you know what you should be targeting, what you shouldn't. Green, red, yellow. Make it easy on you. Make your time quick, efficient, and so you can build your lineups quick. I have no clue who to play, Jake says. Yeah, man, it's a tough slate. I do think there's some really phenomenal mid-range plays, some really phenomenal pay-up plays. I don't know if you're playing on DraftKings or FanDuel, but hopefully you listen to the game-by-game breakdown, and I would suggest you play the guys I said to play, obviously. But I don't know, man. There's some really good mid-range plays. There's some really good cheap plays. I do tend to lean a little bit more stars and scrubs on small slates because I do think raw points are going to matter. There's only 3 games. And if you don't play Joel Embiid, James Harden, Kevin Durant, etc., you don't play multiple superstars and they all go out there and drop 70 plus, you're probably going to be in some trouble. So that is typically my approach, to try to jam in as many studs as I can with reliable value. Not to do it just because I can do it, but it does logically make some sense on a small slate as well. I mean, generally speaking, when you have certain guys out there like these top pay-up options, let's see the top pay-up options on the slate, and let's just talk about their fantasy point production. Giannis, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joel Embiid, Bradley Beal, 1.1, 1.53, 1.4, 1.39, 1.71, and then you drop down a whole tier to the mid-range guys. They're all like right around 1 point per minute. So obviously a big difference in production. And if 2-3 of these guys really go off, you're really going to need them in your lineups to be at the top of the leaderboard. So that's kind of my approach. But Giannis or Durant, once again, man, it depends on if that Magic game stays close. So if you think the Magic game stays close with the Bucks and you think Giannis plays a full allotment of minutes, Giannis, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that the Bucks know they're going to absolutely trample the Orlando Magic, regardless of whether Giannis plays 35 to 40 minutes or if he plays 30. And I think they're going to play him 30 minutes and just kind of coast to the victory and let Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday and Bobby Portis and all these other guys do their thing. If I had to play someone on the Milwaukee side, once again, my approach probably would be to play the cheapest guy with the biggest upside, which would be Bobby Portis, who's priced at 7.5, if you would like to go there. Do I think it's even necessary to go there? Not necessarily. But that would be my approach. Could Giannis go out there and drop 80 DraftKings points and I feel very silly? Yes, but I just think that they know they're going to win. I mean, this Orlando squad's not going to be able to keep up with them. It's very apparent. Their entire team's hurt. The Orlando Magic aren't good as is. And now they don't have Cole Anthony and their what was starting point guard in I don't even know the kid's name right now. Gravett is no longer available. So, I mean, they're dealing with some really hard times. So my approach is going to be to play the cheap options in that game. Because if the game turns into a blowout, those cheap options will probably still be in the game, and they're cheap. So they should be able to surpass their price tags very, very easily. Claw says, is playing Okaro and Avicii in the same lineup a bad idea? No, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. They're both priced in the low 4K range. They're both going to get a bump up with both their teams dealing with injuries. Avicii definitely is a better fantasy point per minute producer. I will say that much. So if I had to pick between these two, sure, I could do that. You could also pivot to a Caldwell Pope or a Kispert in the low 4K range on Washington as well. I do think that those two guys with Bradley Beal coming back are going to take a big hit in their usage, though. I think it's about to be the Bradley Beal show. So I'm not quite as high on Kyle Kuzma as I was. I think Daniel Gafford is my second favorite option on the Wizards. Could be my first favorite option as far as the fantasy point upside at his price tag. So he's a phenomenal play as well. Class is Harden or Durant. I would lean towards going with Harden. Harden is $100 cheaper. They're very similar plays in my projection model, but that $100 goes a long way for me as far as determining which one's the better play at their upside. I do like James Harden a little bit more because of that $100 discount. I know it's a very minute amount. It's the minimal amount difference there could possibly be, but it does make a difference in my projections. So, all right, guys, I am going to probably head out here if there's no more questions. If there's more questions, I'll gladly hang around for another 10 minutes. I got to update all of my projections, my core plays. Claw, I know that I'll see you in the Discord chat, so it shouldn't be an issue to answer your questions. And if anyone else interested in signing up for some premium content, head on over here, patreon.com/KJK_DFS. I put it in the chat already. I'll do it again for you guys. And when you sign up, you won't be able to access my sheets right away. I'll get an email once you sign up. And once you do, obviously, I'll give you permission. You'll then have access to my sheets as long as you remain a KJK DFS NBA premium content member. So check that out. Also sign up for the sponsors of the program, Parlay Play. Check them out. It is a very fun format. And it's a nice little switch up from the daily grind of making lineups. Schofield or Dean, Larry says. Last question I'll answer before I head out. If I had to pick there, I would probably lean towards Schofield for upside at his price tag. So that's where I would go there. Magic shorthanded. He should get a decent amount of minutes. All right, guys, I'm going to head out of here. Wish you all the best of luck on this slate tonight. We'll see you in the next one. And, yeah, it's all for me tonight. Good luck tonight, and we'll catch you later.